All right, it's 7 o'clock on Tuesday, February 19th, 2019, and I'll call the meeting to order. And the first thing we'll do is stand for a moment for silent reflection. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, I'll move into the minutes of the previous meeting, February 11th, 2019. Mover and seconder for those minutes. Councillor Clark and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Just have one timed event for tonight, and it's the public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment Z02-2019. So we'll just wait a few moments for that one. Into our correspondence, our upcoming conferences, seminars, and meetings. Our next regular meeting is Monday, March 4th, 2019, followed by our budget meeting, which is Wednesday, March 6th, 2019 at 10 a.m. We also have our Emergency Management Committee meeting on Tuesday, February 10th, 2019. Why is that on there?
That's not February 10th. It should be. Sorry, that's my fault. I apologize.
Sorry.
It's not February 10th. It's April 10th.
I didn't know if there's correspondence as it related to that meeting on that date, or it just hasn't happened.
No.
Okay.
It should be April 10th.
Sorry, I should have read that little list beforehand. I just typically just go with the flow with what's upcoming. Alrighty. And then the first item for correspondence is from the Middlesex Clerk and Treasurers Association. It's the Curling Funds Field. Is anyone interested in attending?
Yeah.
No? I might be attending, but I'll do it through the county.
Sure.
Okay, item number 2 is from the City of Stratford, and it's the Stratford Festival Invitation. Anyone's interested in going to that? Our recommended readings, the first one is from the Solid Field Conservation Authority, and it's the February 21st, 2019 Annual General Meeting Agenda, as well as the December 20th Board Minutes, and the GM's report dated February 21st, 2019. And then correspondence item number 4 is Connect Ontario, information for residents. Moving into the action items, the first one is from the Optimist Club, and it's request to waive rental fees. Okay, moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks, and that is resolved that Council support the request from the Kerwood Adelaide Metcalfe Optimist Club to waive the fees for the park rental at Kerwood Park for the club to hold their summer soccer program for 2019. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And then correspondence item number 6 and 7 are in regards to Bill 66. Because we'll treat them individually. So we'll go with the first one, which is the town of Georgian. Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
I put to file because I read the staff report on it, I looked it up, I couldn't get excited about it, and unless they come out with, AMO comes out with a Bill 66 for dummies, I wasn't going to dig any farther into it because I don't think it applies to us very much at all.
It doesn't apply to us at all.
I was filed as well.
Alright, I'm assuming that's for both of them, also from the town of Orangeville. Alright, and that's it for correspondence. So we need a motion to resolve the council receive and file correspondence items CC1 to CC4 and then 6 and 7. Councillor Clark and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, so we're going to go back to our public meeting. So we need a motion to resolve that a public meeting to hear zoning bylaw amendment application Z02 2019, Jim and Lisa DeBruin at 2180 Egremont Drive be opened at 7:05. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Come forward. And the purpose of the following public hearing for Adelaide Metcalfe Council is to give the members of council as well as the general public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the application before council this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. If a person or a public body wishes to file an appeal of decision made this evening to the local planning appeal tribunal without having made a written submission to council, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. If you wish to be notified of the decision, please submit a written request to the township, and a sign-in sheet has been provided for your convenience on the tape. I'm assuming you've received the report from our planner, Aaron?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Excellent. Aaron, if you'd like to go through the report.
Sure. Thank you, Mary Smith. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to implement a condition of consent imposed by the Adelaide Metcalfe Committee of Adjustment for Consent B06-2018, which was conditionally approved on May 22nd of last year. The consent conditionally severed a parcel of land with an area of 0.097 hectares or 2.4 acres in order to accommodate the disposal of a surplus farm dwelling. The application this evening proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be severed from general agriculture to surplus dwelling in order to recognize the residential use of the lands. And the application also proposes to amend the zoning of the lot to be retained from general agriculture to agriculture only to prohibit new residential uses on this parcel of land. So I do also want to note that there is a significant portion of the property that is zoned environmental protection. We are not requesting an amendment to that. That will remain as is. Just the sort of the balance of the retained lands will be rezoned for agriculture only. I've also drafted an implementing bylaw for council's consideration this evening. As per the Planning Act, the application was circulated. We did receive comments from Sauble Bayfield. However, they didn't have any concerns. They just, because of the amount of CA regulated lands, they wanted to make sure that they gave us a comment. No other concerns were received. So with that being said, my recommendation this evening is that zoning bylaw amendment Z02-2019 be approved. And further, that council proceed with the first and second reading of the implementing bylaw, with the final reading to be provided once a deposited reference plan has been received by the township.
Thank you, Aaron. Jim or Lisa, do you have anything to add at all?
No.
No, sounds good.
Okay. Anyone in the gallery wishing to speak to the application? Any questions or comments from council?
No.
That seems pretty simple. Resolve that the public meeting to hear zoning bylaw amendment application Z02-2019 be closed at 7:08 p.m. Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And we have the recommendation in front of us for approval. If somebody wants to make that motion. Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. There you go.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just so we have the record in our file.
I think this meeting will be shorter than the last one. I'm excited.
It's a jinx thing.
Well, you never know.
Oh yeah, I shouldn't have said anything.
We're saying it out loud.
Thank you, Aaron. I think you are really good.
Yes, we do.
That's true.
Thanks, Aaron, for coming out.
Yes, we do.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Oh, that's for you.
Yes. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
All right, so we're going to head into our staff reports, and our first one is from our fire chief, Chief Nora.
So before you have the fire department activities for the year 2018, just a couple of things I want to highlight is the increase in number of calls we've had. So compared to 2017, we went from 76 to 94, and that is mostly due to MVCs and medical calls. Fire calls are down substantially. We only had one significant structure fire. And also on the training, so last year we went through the grandfathering process, so all our firefighters are now grandfathered to NFPA standards, which is a good thing. That's something we asked for. At one point we weren't allowed to do that because we did 4 years prior to that. So now we were given the opportunity to do so, so we did it. We were all accepted, so it's a good thing. Having said that, those who could not be grandfathered because of years of service, didn't have enough years of service, are now taking the NFPA 10 or more training. So then in the attachments, the first one there is the incidents by the type of incidents and percentage of the totals and times. And then on the second page is was a bit on training there, how much training the firefighters have each done. The first one is the NFPA training, which I spoke to. And then the first aid CPR AD, and it was just a refresher course last year. This year is a full research course for everybody. And then the total hours of training, which is our in-house training, which we do twice a month, plus the truck check nights, and that's per firefighter. And then on the fire prevention activities, and the first group there is done by the county fire prevention officers, and it's by occupancies. You can see the numbers there. And the public education activities that were done last year was the presentation at the schools, the 72-hour emergency preparedness, social media posts, emergency response day, which we attend every year, newspaper articles, website, handouts. That's my report, so if you have any questions, I'll see if I can answer them.
Okay. Is there any questions at all? Okay, Councillor Clark?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say you should congratulate the firemen on their response time. That's exceptional, very impressive, and that shows they're dedicated to what they're doing, that's for sure. You mentioned in your report that there's offset for the motor vehicle from the MTO and from the insurance companies. I don't want to know exact dollars, but just to give me an appreciation. So if you go out to do a extraction of a accident on the 401, what percentage of that is actually from your costs is recovered? Is that a measurable thing?
So the MTO sets a fee every year, and it's I forget where it started out, but currently it's $460-some an hour per truck. So if we go with 3 trucks to the 402 and we do an extrication or whatever else we do, if it's 1 hour or part thereof, it's $460-some times 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's just a dollar amount that they've come up with. And
Yes.
so then how does the insurance company play into that equation?
Well, we invoice them the same amount.
The same as the MTO?
That's correct.
Okay. And on the for the training, for example, the firefighters that are doing the first aid and the refresher courses, is that the entire department does an annual refresher, or is that just it has to be done every so many years, or how's that work?
So every year we do a refresher course. A first aid certificate is good for 3 years, and then you need to be recertified. So there's 12 that their certificate expires this year, but because there's changes in protocols, how we do things, there's a number of changes that come into effect. So we've been advised that everybody takes the whole training, so it's a 2-night training for us. So, and doing that, from here on in, all our certificates will expire the same year as well.
Makes sense.
And do they come to you for the training at the fire hall, or do you have
Yes.
to? Okay.
No, they
Well, that's
come to
good.
us.
Okay.
And speaking of that, so that all the other staff of the township, the roads office staff, they're taking, now that's a standard first aid course, and that's happening here in May by the same people.
For staff, not firemen. It's a separate course.
It's a separate
It's like a
course.
sort of separate day. Okay.
Yeah, because ours is, used to be called healthcare provider, now it's BLS, basic life support certificate, so things have changed. It includes oxygen administration and all that for us, so it's totally different than for the rest
What
of the
day would
staff.
you do it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon?
Aaron, with the firemen now being the first responders and having to deal with accidents and that type, are you finding that they're coping well and able to manage, or are some needing some assistance? I would.
We have had no problems that way.
Oh, good.
No,
Oh,
no. We've,
that's good.
now, having said that, you know, I've had a couple speak to me about it afterwards, and that's as far as it went, but no.
But there is an avenue for them if they need. Yes.
There is.
Okay.
We have PTSD policy in place and insurance coverages.
Oh, okay.
Okay, anything else, Councillor? No? Deputy Mayor Hendricks, any questions or comments?
No, I think
Everything?
I'm good.
Sorry, I'm just learning a lot about this, so I asked too many questions.
If I could, I just have a couple questions. So on here, so we've had 94 calls for 2018. So you are at, county council this afternoon with the dispatch presentation. So on there it said that there was 148 calls of service. So what's the difference between the total responses and then also the total number of calls?
I actually questioned Laura on that today.
Okay.
She was gone most of last week, so I didn't have a chance to really talk to her about it. But she included some other things in there, and I would have done the report a little bit different to give you a better idea, like separate the calls from, because she included advice on that. That's what she called it. So, say there's a road closure, so they get notified that there's a road closure, so they include that in that number.
So
In
any
another
touch point,
part.
any touch point they're counting.
Yes.
Okay. I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other question, just for clarification, so the codes, which is the 96 and the 97, which is the calls canceled en route and the incident not found. So the incident not found, there was one of those, but there's 5 hours and 43 minutes of staff time. I was just confused how that had 5 hours, whereas the calls canceled en route, which was 4 of those, there's 3 hours and 8 minutes.
Yes. Now, all these figures, everything's taken off our Fire Pro software, so it really depends how it's entered in there sometimes too. But the incident not found, I recall that one actually. It was up in the northeast end of our township, and we went up and down roads looking for it. Never ever did find it, but it didn't end up to that hour. So, to be honest, I'm not sure where that hour figure came from.
Okay. Okay, is there any other questions at all? Seeing none, we need a motion to resolve that council receive the fire department 2018 activity report as prepared by the fire chief. Okay, Councillor Clark and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, all those in favor, opposed and carried. And that's it. Is there anything else, any questions at all from council to the fire chief?
What's the industry standard for, like in rural Ontario, because that's what we are, maybe not the industry standard, but what's an average usually for response times? It's gotta be more than 4 minutes, I gotta think.
Oh, yes, it is.
Like, that's impressive, is it not?
Well-
Like, I think it is.
So it depends what it is. Like, response times, like the average there for fire, 12 minutes, 12 seconds, right? So that's the time our pager goes off till the time we get on scene. A few years ago, the OFM tried to implement what they call 10 on 10-10. So 10 firemen on scene in 10 minutes. So then we argued with them, that is not achievable.
The number's wrong.
So they did away with that.
Yeah, so when I look at those numbers and add them all up, you'd have to have a lot less than a minute to get that number. So there's one at 3 minutes 25, but then there's a lot at 9, 7, 12, 11. So I'm not doubting that your response time is not good. To me, those numbers don't add up. I don't know though.
Well,
Right?
a lot depends on time of day.
Oh, do you skew it to, like there's a different weighting for different times a day?
No.
Oh,
These are,
The average,
Is it
the
something
response
or-
time column is likely correct. It would be the total number of responses, the bottom, the 3 minutes and 59 seconds for response. If you average those out, that is a phenomenal number. And when you have a response time, it looks like an average around probably 8 to 9 minutes.
yeah, that 3.
That 3:59 has got to be skewed somehow based on
Yeah.
something.
And that is something that,
is that a software thing maybe?
that's a software thing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're right, that doesn't make sense. It should be probably around 8 minutes.
Which is still, I think, great. Like that's,
Well, it is, but
Yeah.
time I get my pants on.
yeah. Like find your shoes.
I don't think you can get to not legally get to my place in 10 minutes.
No. Oh, no. So, yeah,
Okay.
time of day, distance, there's a lot of factors.
Okay. Is there any other questions at all? No? Okay. Thank you. And we'll move on to the Chief Building Officials report. Jeff Denny.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so the first is just the update council, just the permits issued from January 1st until February 14th. Any questions on that?
Any questions on the permit list?
Sorry, where are we here? Number two, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No?
Sorry, I don't have any.
Okay, so we need a motion to resolve that council accepts the building permit issued report as submitted by the Chief Building Official. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councilor McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.
And the second item I have is just the annual report for the Kerwood plant. As per the service approval, we just have to do an annual performance report of the system, and it's basically it's here upon request from the Ministry of Environment to regulate the system. So we have been audited 3 times, but anyway, it's only like 90 days to have it completed, and so it's just there for council to review. There's a few things on there that with the objectives that we haven't been able to meet, if you noticed in the actual report, with regards to, let me just pull it up here.
The peak flow rate, or no?
Well, we do have on heavy rain events and
That's what
different snow melts, the groundwater enters the system. So we have, we have had 18 exceedances, but again, no spills or anything like that. It's just discharged to beds, so it's everything is good that way. Just with the objectives that the ministry has given us in table 4, basically the CBODs, we've only managed to meet those 4 of the 12 months, and the total suspended solids 3 of the 12 months. Initially it was the nitrates that were high, and we've added molasses to the system, which really cut down the nitrates, and that was the big concern, because the nitrate concentration at the property line is the trigger condition on this approval. So we've managed to get the nitrates down, but we've had some difficulty with the CBOD and the total suspended solids, which we may have to get some of the settling tanks pumped. We're looking at that right now. Aaron and I are going to get Mike Nagy from sanitary sewer in, possibly pump there's probably about 2 to 3 feet of sludge in the settling tanks, so we're looking at possibly getting that sludge pumped out in some sort of cost-effective method. That they're quite large tanks, so we're look at different methods, whether to put it back into the black water pump station and then suck the sludge out of the bottom somehow, just to save on costs for the system. But we have to meet with Mike Nagy and discuss that with him, see what our options are. It's gonna be very expensive to do that. But when I've talked to the engineers, that's the only real, with regards to CBOD and total spent stalls, that's kind of what they recommended, was maybe it's due to the high amount of sludge in the settling tanks. But there's only 2 or 3 feet. The tanks are about 12 feet deep, so it's really not a lot of sludge. But anyway, we're going to look into that sometime this summer and check on it and see if we can get that down. But again, these are just objectives too from the Ministry of Environment. They're not, it's just, you know, like they say, we don't have to meet them. They're just an objective that they give us. So.
Okay. Is there any questions at all? Councillor Clark?
So this molasses, is it just like the stuff from the store basically?
Correct,
And
yes.
so you're using that now, or you would use it
No,
after you pump the sludge out, so you have a,
We've stopped putting that in now.
Oh, you stopped,
when
okay.
Initially, we were having troubles, the nitrates were really high, and they recommended to add molasses into it, so that's what we were doing. I was buying it by the 5-gallon pail, and Aaron and I would just pour it in into the benching on one of the manholes, and I'll tell you, it's worked. We've stopped doing it now because the nitrates basically are.
so it didn't work, is that, or it
Yeah,
did
it
work?
did work, yes.
Yeah, it reduced the number of nitrates to we had 6, and now we've
Oh,
gone down
okay.
below 6. We've met that,
That
we checked
criteria.
11 of the 12 months. But when we did that, the carbon content, I guess, I'm not exactly sure. The CBOD, that went up at that time. So then we said just stop adding the molasses right now. The nitrates are good, but it's just a matter of. It's discharged to the bed as well too, so there's other treatment that happens, you know what I mean? It's not getting discharged into a natural water course or anything, so it is getting pumped out to a raised bed as well, so there's another layer of treatment too, so.
Mhm.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, we have 2 motions in front of us. The first one is resolved that council accept the Kerwood Treatment Plant Annual Reporting Report as presented by the Chief Building Official, Councillor Clark and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And resolved that council accepts the Kerwood Sewage Treatment Site 2018 Annual Report dated January 17, 2019 as submitted. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Okay, do we have any other questions at all from council to the Chief Building Official? Seeing none. Thank you. Moving into the Public Works Manager's report. Jeff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I have one report tonight. It's a report based on the relief of load restrictions policy. Last week, Council directed myself, the Public Works Manager, to create a policy on providing relief to the reduced load restriction bylaw number 6-2019. The best way is develop a policy, and it's going to be added to the bylaw as a Schedule B. So we'll switch and to review the Schedule B. And so under Schedule B, the purpose of this policy, before I start that, the purpose, all commercial traffic, I should just point this out, all commercial traffic with the exception of snowplow trucks, fire apparatus, milk transport vehicles, garbage trucks, and emergency utility vehicles are required, or they're the only ones that do not have to follow the bylaw that we have in place. There is some relief for agricultural trucks, but it's in a degree, they're not given a total relief. So those are the only vehicles that do not have to follow our bylaw. So having said that, the township recognizes that there are situations that can warrant a temporary relief from the bylaw. And in the bylaw already it states, council has stated that the Public Works Manager does have the authority to issue a permit for this relief. So upon developing the policy for council, we'll go through it. So basically the procedure of the policy will be in three areas. The first area will be, will require an application to be sent into the municipality. And on the application, we'll get all the information of the applicant. And the applicant should be the person doing the delivery because of, it's their license, it's their CPOR, it's their license that, on the line. So, they have to be, they're the ones that need the relief. So also in the application, we'll need the vehicles, the loads, that will be taking part in the delivery, as well as the location, and the route of the delivery, and the reason for the relief. So because this isn't just, there should be a reason why we're going around the bylaw, or giving a relief to the bylaw, so the second part of the procedure will be then the application then comes into the manager, and then he'll evaluate it. And the number one evaluation is the current road conditions. Number two will be the projected road conditions at the time of the delivery. And then number three, the ability for the delivery to be done and to meet the limitations of the bylaw. So where I'm going with that is sometimes it's impossible to meet the bylaw. So we got to make sure that people aren't trying to go around the bylaw. We want to work with people. So that's where that number three comes in. Sometimes deliveries are very easy to meet the bylaw, just cost more money. It takes extra deliveries to get it done. So. And then number four, the number of loads and the number of weight in each load that's in the request. So requests such as cement coming in for a foundation, there could be load after load after load of cement coming in. Certainly a different criteria than a single load coming in to deliver a bit of plywood or something to a house. So all those really reflect on whether the permit will be issued. And I point that out. Just because there's a policy in place to issue a permit, at no time should a permit have to be issued. If the road conditions warrant half load, it should be followed under the bylaw. I believe that a permit should not be longer than a 7-day period. I don't think it's reasonable to try to forecast road conditions any further than 7 days out. And the reason I sell 7 days, it's nice for people to organize their work. So if they're planning the delivery, it's nice to have that in place prior to that. I also point out that the relief permit can be canceled any time due to any of the criteria changing from the above. And the permit will be very specific on date and times of the relief, the vehicle and the load specification, the delivery location, and the roads that are granted for the relief from the load limit. So, and again, I think this is all fairly straightforward. And then we go on. Each permit will require, we've talked about this, each permit will require a road damage deposit to be submitted to the township. I believe, Mr. Mayor, that it's a good idea to start with a mandatory deposit. That way, if people are serious about wanting a relief in place, then they'll look at this and see that that's the starting point. And obviously, that's 2,000 is the very minimum. It will increase based on the criteria and the elevation and the evaluation. So the more loads, the more kilometers you're traveling, the heavier the weight that they want to put on the road. All these things would increase the deposit on the road, so we can cover ourselves for damage. So, and again, we've talked about the damage is 100%. If there is no damage, it's 100% returnable. And if there's damage, there'll be no refund until road repairs can be made, and that way then it can be determined and the costs come out right out of the deposit. So it's straightforward. So, and also to final note, council will receive a report on all requests for relief of load restriction, so that council's updated on the requests coming in and what's going out as in a permit. So you'll also be notified if the request has been turned down. So that's the policy that is put forth. Again, there's really no financial impact with this. This will be part of the Public Works Manager's duties. And my recommendation is that resolve that council approve the relief of load restriction policy as presented, and secondly, resolve that council direct the clerk to update the bylaw to include the Schedule B relief of load restriction policy.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Is there any questions at all? Yep, Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Yeah, it's more about the general bylaw in itself. So you mentioned some exemptions. So if farmers are wanting to do grain or manure or something, where do they go to find out what exactly they're exempt from and what they're not?
It's all laid out in the Highway Traffic Act.
Okay.
And I just don't have the section right from there. I believe it's in the bylaw. The bylaw actually quotes the section.
Okay.
And at the same time, they can give me a call and I'll work with them. Basically, manure is not part of a commercial load. They don't really have to follow the Highway Traffic Act because it's a non-commercial, non-licensed vehicle. Some farm activity, like I said, is governed in there. I didn't get into it because some of it's 3/4 of a load. It's not half a load. So, for instance, feed trucks, livestock delivery of chickens and stuff, they all have slightly different, but they're still modified. It's still modified a bit, but I just didn't get into that because it's, if you're delivering feed, you know the rules. These guys know the rules. So, at the same time, if they need relief from there already, they can come forward too and ask for that also. So.
Okay. I'm just thinking as a communication piece, while we're notifying residents that we're changing that we've changed the times of our load limits, that maybe we could just add a little piece of information for people who just don't know or just assume because they're farming everything's exempt. So.
Well, Mr. Mayor, there is a little bit. Everybody kikes to go a little step further. I mean, there's feed trucks are allowed a reduction. They're not exempt. They're allowed a reduction. What is a feed truck? And again, there's always a little bit of gray area there. But anyways.
Yeah, I think that's especially true since farming has changed a lot since the rules were first written. And a lot of farmers do their own commercial things.
Councillor Clark?
Oh yeah, just one question, Jeff. If the damage is in excess of the deposit, do we have full recourse to? So let's say you take a $5,000 deposit and the damage is $10,000. Are we restricted by the deposit amount, or do we have? Is there a mechanism in place to go after them for the difference?
Mr. Mayor, if we don't have a large enough deposit, should be a reason why the road there's damage beyond that to the road.
Okay.
So either, I hate to say, either I haven't done my job, or more likely, but there could be a chance that somebody's either lied on their application or lied on what they're really doing out there, and we would still have the ability to go back on them, but it would be a legal fight then. We'd have to,
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not an issue, but
No,
I just want to know what was the
Yeah.
downside there.
Yeah. And again, Ms. Rowney, an example would be if we gave an exemption for Tuesday and they continue to run deliveries on Wednesday, and Wednesday they wreck the road, then obviously there would be some sort of legal recourse back there.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Kathy?
If I may, in our permit granting, there will be a clause for them to sign, when they sign it, that they acknowledge that any expenses over and above the damage deposit, should there be any, they will be responsible for. It'll be similar to the terminology we use in our planning application, so if we have to go out and get excess over the application fee, we have to go out and get some other advice from consultants, planners, solicitors, if they're responsible for those costs.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kennedy, any questions?
No.
I just had one that actually kind of relates to what Kathy was just saying. Do we have an actual application that people sign, or?
The application, we
Well,
have
yeah,
that,
well,
yep.
Yeah, we're,
Okay.
we're working on
Working on
developing
that.
that,
Okay.
but until we
Yeah.
knew whether you wanted to go forward
Okay.
with allowing an exemption or not,
Yeah.
we didn't get too far into the permit process, but there will be an application
Yeah.
form
Yeah.
and an actual permit that Jeff issues back to the person.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, so we, yeah,
And that'll just be attached to behind this policy in the bylaw.
exactly.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yes, it'll appear as probably Schedule C or something to that effect.
Excellent. Okay. We need a motion then to resolve that council approve the relief of load restriction policy as presented by the Public Works Manager. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And also a motion resolve that council direct the clerk to update bylaw number 6 of 2019, reduce load restrictions to include Schedule B relief of load restriction policy. Okay. Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Is there any questions at all for the Public Works Manager? Seeing none. All right, moving on to the next staff report. Our clerks, Jennifer.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. My first report is regarding the indemnification bylaw, so it's an update to the report that was brought to council at the last council meeting. Staff was directed to send the bylaw to the municipal insurance company for comment. Tony Camiso, regional manager with Frank Cowan, who was here last council meeting as a delegation, provided comment through Frank Cowan's analyst. The Township of Adelaide Metcalfe should be aware that this bylaw does not just provide additional cover for councillors when they no longer hold office. This bylaw makes the township liable for amounts that are not covered by their insurance policy, both while holding office and afterward. While the Municipal Act provides personal immunity for council members, officers and employees of the township, this bylaw goes beyond what is statutory mandated. If the township passes this bylaw agreeing to identify councillors for criminal penalties, for example, they will be paying out of their own coffers, regardless of whether the councillor thought their actions were lawful or not. Should there be legal action brought against a member of council, the CEO treasurer would seek solicitor advice at that time. And the indemnification bylaw was originally created by the legal team at the Township of Malahide and was passed by their council. And this particular bylaw has been reviewed and passed by the following councils in Middlesex County: the Municipality of Southwest Middlesex, the Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc, Township of Lucan-Biddulph, Municipality of North Middlesex. And since this report has been sent out, I had sent out an email to all the municipalities in Middlesex County to see who had passed this particular bylaw. County of Middlesex has their own indemnification bylaw that they passed in 1993. So financial impacts regarding this bylaw, there are no direct financial implications of this report. In the event that the draft bylaw is approved by council and there is legal action brought against individual members of council or staff as a result of them fulfilling their duties, an outline of the financial implications would be brought forth to council. So my recommendation for council is that council adopt the indemnification bylaw as presented by myself.
Questions, comments?
No.
Okay, so we have the recommendation there.
So
Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. Those in favor? Opposed and carried. Before we move to the next one, we need to let Tony know how to spell Adelaide Metcalfe.
That was
Okay.
actually, the analyst spelled it incorrectly and he was advised.
My second report is regarding our smoking bylaw proposal. Prior to June 2018 and under the formal provincial legislation, the Cannabis Act 2017 was to take effect on October 17, 2018. In this act, it had included that smoking recreation cannabis in outdoor public places was prohibited, but allowed the smoking of medical cannabis in outdoor public places subject to certain limitations. On September 27, 2018, the new provincial government introduced Bill 36, Cannabis Statute Law Amendment Act 2018. The proposed change is significant and no longer prohibits the smoking of recreational cannabis in outdoor public places. It instead aligns cannabis smoking rules with the Smoke-Free Ontario Act in 2017 and therefore permits the smoking of recreational cannabis in outdoor public places such as parks. Public health organizations have outlined there are negative health risks due to the smoking of any type of product, including tobacco, and this would include the smoking of cannabis. Likewise, there are health risks from secondhand smoke. Smoking, the use of medical cannabis, and the use of e-cigarettes will be regulated under the new Smoke-Free Ontario Act 2017, which replaced the Smoke-Free Ontario Act and the Electronic Cigarettes Act 2015. Municipalities generally have two options with respect to recreational cannabis and vaping and establishing locations of prohibited use. We either follow the current federal and provincial legislation and enforcement models for smoking and vaporizing cannabis in accordance with the Smoke-Free Ontario Act, or we adopt our own township bylaw. Council has the authority to implement a regulatory framework that is more restrictive than the Smoke-Free Ontario Act 2017 through a bylaw. Municipalities have the ability to implement additional local restrictions on the smoking of tobacco and cannabis and vaping in public places. And the new Smoke-Free Ontario Act prohibits smoking of cannabis in the following places: in enclosed public place and designated buildings, an enclosed workplace, school within the meaning of the Education Act, a building or the grounds surrounding the building of a private school within the meaning of the Education Act, any indoor common area in a condominium, apartment building, or university or college residence, including, without being limited to, elevators, hallways, parking garages, party or entertainment rooms, laundry facilities, lobbies, and exercise areas. A child care center within the meaning of the Child Care and Early Years Act 2014. A place where home care is provided within the meaning of the Child Care and Early Years Act 2014. A place where an early years program or service is provided within the meaning of the Child Care and Early Years Act. The reserved seating area of a sports arena or entertainment venue, any prescribed place or area, or a place or area that belongs to a prescribed class. Financial impact, there would be signage needed to provide notice of the bylaw at various locations throughout the township. If approved by council, signage would be prominently displayed where smoking vaping is prohibited, and attached to that is a sample of the signage. We're looking at number 1 and number 2 on the page 2 of your attachment if council approves the smoking bylaw. If they don't approve the smoking bylaw and we decide to go with the federal and provincial rules, then we'll have to display number 4. So with each of these signs, I talked with Jeff Little, the Public Works Manager, and we would need approximately 15 signs, and they would be at a cost of $15 plus HST each. The signs would be attached to a building or fencing that is already in place, so we wouldn't need posts, and additionally staff time would be required for the sign installation. This would be included in the regular duties and would be a function of the operations budget. However, the installation of signs would be scheduled around priorities like winter control in the event of snow or inclement weather. The current bylaw enforcement officer is full-time and has other duties as the chief building official. The impact of cannabis on the township is unknown at this time. Schedule A is a proposed fee schedule that's attached. The bylaw would be sent to the Ministry of Attorney General for approval through the Provincial Offences Act after the first and second reading. So my recommendation is that council receive the smoking bylaw staff report as presented by myself, and that the draft bylaw come back to the next council meeting for comment and discussion. I did place this on our website I also made reference to it on our Facebook page, and I emailed it to the Optimist Club of Kerwood, Adelaide Metcalfe, for them to provide comment as well.
Perfect. Is there any questions or comments right now from council?
No.
Okay. We need a motion then that resolves that council receive the smoking bylaw staff report as presented by the clerk, and that the draft bylaw come back to the next council meeting for comment and discussion. Okay, Councillor Clark and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed? Not scared. You catch your breath?
I'll catch my breath here.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of reports.
I was busy. My third report is, for short, the tree canopy policy, and this is in relation to Section 270 of the Municipal Act. So there was a whole list of policies that were a result of Bill 68 Municipal Act changes requirement. So this is one of the policies that we have to have in place by March 1st. So with respect to protecting and enhancing the tree canopy and natural vegetation within the township, other references which impact tree canopy and natural vegetation within Adelaide Metcalfe include not only our official plan, but the Middlesex County official plan, the Middlesex Natural Heritage System Study, decisions under the Planning Act such as development agreements, and decisions under the Drainage Act such as new drains and improvements and maintenance to existing drains, the Middlesex County Woodlands Conservation Bylaw, and the County Forest Management. There are no financial impacts in regards to this policy, and my recommendation is resolved that council approve the protection and enhancement of tree canopy and natural vegetation policy as presented by myself.
Okay, any questions at all on the policy? Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Is this just the policy to say we like trees? Like, that's all I'm basically getting at. That's all I can find in the procedures, is that we'll encourage trees? Okay. That's what I thought.
Would you like to move the policy?
Yeah, sure.
Deputy Mayor Hendricks, and seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
My fourth report is just FYI for council. It's regarding Bill 66, Restoring Ontario's Competitiveness information report. It's in relation to CC6 and CC7, which council has already received and filed. So that basically was just background information regarding the two resolutions that were brought forth for council's consideration under action required.
All right, is there any questions or comments at all? Okay, a motion to resolve that council receive open for business Bill 66 Restoring Ontario's Competitiveness staff report as presented by the clerk for information purposes. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Clark, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Sorry, I'm just playing catch up here.
Oh, you're good.
Talking and making notes at the same time. My last report is council staff relations policy report with the draft policy attached for council's review. And this again is in relation to Bill 68, another policy that we are to have in place by March 1st from the Bill 68 Modernizing Ontario's Municipal Legislation Act. So what I did with this report, if council remembers, we just passed workplace violence and harassment policy. We updated that from the two previous versions that were passed in 2014, and we also passed council code of conduct policy and employee code of conduct policy, and we updated the procedural bylaw in 2018. So with all those policies now in place, I created the council staff relations policy based off of those previous policies. I didn't see the need to reinvent the wheel when we have all those policies already in place. So there is no financial impact at this time, and my recommendation resolve that council approve the council staff relations policy as presented by the clerk in order to be compliant with Bill 68, and that the appropriate bylaw be approved by council.
Okay, mover and seconder for the recommendation, Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Clark. Is there any discussion at all? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, is there any questions at all for our clerk? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next staff report from our CAO treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. The first report is the invoice payment approval for the period February 8, 2019 to February 14, 2019, with the total checks being submitted for approval of $279,410.26.
Is there any questions on the accounts? Councillor Clark?
The tax adjustments, they're driven by MPAC, I realize. So I'm just wondering, is that representing a refund from the tax assessment period of 2012 to 16, like a 4-year period? Is that?
That is a 1-year period.
It's a 1
And when
year,
it's noted
okay.
2018, it'll be a 1-year period. If it's 2017, it'll be for that fiscal year.
Just for that year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and they will be shared back with the county and the school boards accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not entirely at the municipal cost.
Right, okay, thanks.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Councillor McKinnon?
On page 2 of 4, under Pete's signs and displays, the road's Christmas tree.
Mr. Mayor, that was some Christmas tree signs that we made up for the collection site over here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And they are reusable from year to year. There's no dates on it. It just says Christmas tree
Yeah.
drop off. So if council chooses to participate again, those signs can be reused year after year.
Yeah.
Councillor Clark?
Yeah, just one other question I forgot I had. So under on page 2, item 283, the Minister of Finance for the policing. So I noticed there's the invoice for December, and I get that. But then there's a credit of $14.76. So what? Like that looks like a grant. So is that money coming back to us, or a
Yes.
net effect, or?
It's for a net effect. What
Okay.
it is a grant for the transportation of the use of police to transport prisoners and correctional services to the county provincial offenses office, I guess it is. So
that's
it's for
the
that,
same.
and every municipality receives a small CPST credit every year. It's to help offset the cost that we have to incur.
Okay, yeah, just because there were 2 line items, but they had the same number, so
Yes.
it is, okay, thank you, that's it.
Deputy Mayor Hendricks, any questions?
No.
So a motion to resolve that council approve the account listings for the period February 8th, 2019 to February 14th, 2019 in the amount of $279,410.26 as presented.
So moved.
Councillor Clark and Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
The next item is in regards to the grass cutting and trimming tender document. At the February 11th, 2019 meeting, council directed that a revised tender document be prepared and submitted for council to review. Council required the tender document to be prepared with improved requirements for grass cutting and trimming to be in place for the upcoming season. The tender documents from several municipalities were reviewed. Also attached is a draft version of the proposed tender document for council's information. Page 6 of the tender document sets out specific guidelines the contractor is to follow. There will also be a written agreement for the contractor to sign upon the awarding of the contract by council. The financial impact. In order to ensure greater awareness of the availability of the tender, staff will arrange for an advertisement of the tender in the local newspapers, on the township website and Facebook page. In addition, contractors who have previously submitted quotes will be advised of the tender availability. There will be costs related to the advertisement, and the costs related to the advertising in the newspapers will be incorporated into the 2019 budget. We did include one additional property that has not been in the tender before, and that is the Napier Works Garage at 25960 Napier Road. It has been being cut by a private citizen, and it's likely the time that we look at mitigating our risks and having it cut through the contractor as well. The only property that's not listed on there is the Crathy Hall, which is another area that's cut by a private citizen that council may wish to start looking after ourselves, just for mitigating our risk and liability.
Councillor McKinnon?
Was it not discussed that the tender be broken down into public use places and abandoned cemeteries?
We had discussed it, but I don't think that we would have enough people tender on the cemeteries because of their location and the smallness of it. Or we might end up with not having a contractor interested in those small ones if they weren't successful in getting the other larger
And that's what we
properties.
said at the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the tender document? Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
Yeah, my only concern was, that we've got all properties are to be cut and trimmed once a week at a minimum. I'm not sure if all the cemeteries need to be cut once a week. And I understand what you're saying about not wanting to attract people, but they're,
Well, there's an inch parameters put on there too, right?
yeah.
Doesn't it say not more than 6 on the weeds and is it 1 to 3? I forget on the.
Right. There's a restriction of it to be cut not less than 2 inches, and it's not allowed to be any higher than 6 inches. So it will be somewhat at the contractor's discretion, but I do feel that we do owe the cemetery some grass cutting, so at a minimum, once per week is all that's required.
I mean, if it doesn't rain for 3 weeks and it's scorching, obviously nothing's going to happen.
Well, then you
But
have to cut the
the
weeds.
weeds still grow.
Right.
That's right.
And unfortunately, around the headstones and the entrances, we still have a duty to maintain those. So
For
if
sure.
they're going out there, the
I think
the
it's
amount
good.
is worth it. So
Councillor McGinnon?
And is there not a cemetery missing off of Scotchmere? Is it the golf or the?
we don't look after that one right now. It's another one that we'll have to find out who
Well, it's on
looks
the other
after
side
that.
of the road.
It is on the other side of the road, but they sent the bequest to us, so we have to look into that a little bit further because we have been maintaining it. So we do have to look after that and make sure that the proper place is looking after it.
Okay.
So Kathy, you're wanting a decision as to whether or not the Crazy Hall goes on the list?
Yes. And what we would do, what we're proposing to do for both the Napier Works Garage and the Crathie Hall is send a letter of thanks to the former caretakers so that they're aware that we appreciate that they've done that for the years, but it is time that the township took over the responsibilities that we have.
Well, I can move that if you need that. Have a report.
Do we want, what we'll do first is we'll just do a motion to receive the report, and then we'll do the next motion, which is
Amanda?
oh yeah, as amended. Okay. So let's do a motion right now. Resolve that council receive the grass cutting and trimming report as prepared by the CAO treasurer. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And is there, other than adding on Crathie Hall, is there anything else you'd like to see?
Well,
Change.
so is it like a shared service agreement of sorts with the Goff Cemetery on the town line?
We'll have to look into that and see.
Okay. Do we have one where the situation is similar? Like what about the Strathroy, what about the cemetery on Napperton?
That's
that-
ours. That's the
so
Fort
we-
Warren Cemetery, and we're responsible for
Right,
it.
so
It
we
is
don't ask
entirely
Strathroy to do that.
it is
Okay.
entirely within Adelaide Metcalfe.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we need to add them from a liability standpoint. I mean, the days of little Susie cutting the grass, unfortunately, from a litigious situation are over.
Okay. And Kathy, did we receive any information from Councillor Brody?
No, I did not hear anything from him.
Okay, so I'm assuming with the motion we're just adding on as amended?
Yes, please.
Okay, so there's no other discussion. I'm assuming we're adding as the amended, adding on Crathie Hall as well as,
Napier is there. It's just
Yeah.
Crathie Hall to be added.
and then what about the golf we're just looking into?
Cemetery?
We'll look into it and
Investigate
then we
that,
will
we'll add it
have
if
to come back
necessary.
and
Okay.
add that if necessary.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'll move
motion
that.
to resolve the council approve the grass cutting and trimming tender document as submitted by the CAO treasurer as amended. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. That's it. Okay, is there any questions at all for Kathy? Seeing none. Their business? Oh,
So if we want something on the agenda, we just have to get it to you by Tuesday prior to the meeting? Is
Correct.
that- Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
okay. Is there anything at all for other business? Councillor McKinnon?
I'm just wondering where we are in regards to invoicing the drainage, construction and maintenance repairs that, what we have, how much money we have on the drainage ledger and, when we might expect some bylaws to be coming to get some of that off the ledger.
Our maintenance is up to date, and we're just finishing the last of the bylaws to have them produced for next meeting.
Good.
Okay, anything else for other business? I'll just give a quick update from County Council. So today we had a library board meeting as well as County Council. So this morning with the library board, I'd recommend if you're interested, there's a great report on the technology that's being used at all the county libraries. They have what they call maker spaces. So they have the Cricut machine, if you've ever seen those, where they do the vinyl cutting and they can make signs or mugs or whatever it would be. They also have button makers, large print machines you can actually print off like poster size prints. So if you have something you want to blow up with high quality, you can use that. 3D printers, along with a lot of other things. So, and it's all free to use. So if you're interested, stop on by either the Glencoe Library or Strathroy. Those are both
There's no
comprehensive.
cost to the user?
No.
Wow.
Not at this time. They're looking probably in the near, not in the near future, probably in a year or two they'll be looking at that, but they're just figuring out how often it's being used and what's going on. So, and a lot of the items are in place. They're not rotated around at the Glencoe because they just open that one up, so they have a space for it.
So are they revolving between?
Some are permanent and some are rotating. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then at County Council, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, there was a fire dispatch update. Just letting everyone know what's going on for fire dispatch, which is for new council member, fire dispatch is done through the Stratford-Caradoc Police Station. So all the 911 calls go through there for dispatch. So that's a good report to look at. For council members from the previous term, you'll remember that there was 2 planning applications that came in front of County Council talking about the inadvertent merger of properties and getting those severances, and in both those cases was down below the 100 acres. Another one came in front of County Council today, and that was decided not to continue with the appeal. So in Luke and Biddulph, there's 150 acres that was severed back into the original 50 and 100. So it's that was quite a discussion as to whether or not that was going to go forward or not.
So Luke and Biddulph was going to appeal it and decided not to, or
No.
vice versa?
So Luke and Biddulph Council approved it, and because it's not in accordance to the county official plan, then county staff was recommending to appeal it.
And they're not now?
We are not
Okay.
appealing it, no.
Good.
There was 3 main reports, and then after those ones, actually there's 4 main things I want to talk about. Building official services. So at the previous council meeting, a councillor asked to look at having the chief building official at the county level to have like a department that was looked at, and there's a great report as to the findings from the CAO, and county council decided not to move forward with that. So that's not going to be placed at the county level. Fire inspection services was a great update with how that works and how the authority is from not at the lower tier, it's actually at the upper tier, and how that was transferred. We're looking at the language of that happened over 10 years ago, so there could be something that comes in our table to then make sure that we do transfer that. So it's just a lot of paperwork that just has to be done over one municipality questioning whether or not it was transferred or not. So it's just a matter of getting that up to date and getting just the paperwork in order, as well as the tax ratios. So this report was presented today. We didn't make a decision as to whether or not the agricultural tax rate would be reduced or not. So there's just a lot of information that was presented to us, and it'll be a decision in the future as to whether or not that will go, what council will do. And then lastly is SCORE, which is the South Central Ontario, no, the South Central Ontario region, the Economic Development Group. We have continued our partnership, Middlesex County, with SCORE. So there's still the partnership there, and we'll see what happens. It comes up every year as to whether or not we'll continue.
I thought you weren't. I thought They aren't.
That's, you're thinking of the internet one, which is Swift.
Swift.
Swift, okay.
Which we are a partner, we're just not a member.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a large number of other things that were on the report. So long the meeting lasted until 4 o'clock, so I'm not ready for adjourning this meeting. 3 meetings in one day is never fun. So, is there anything else for other business, or we want to move into the bylaws? Seeing none, we need a motion to resolve that all 3 readings be given to bylaw number 15, 2019, the zoning bylaw amendment Z03, 2019, which is the De Bruin. Bylaw number 16, 2019, the identification bylaw. That's good enough to me. Bylaw number 17, 2019, the tree canopy policy. 18 of 2019, council staff relationship policy. And bylaw number 19 of 2019, confirmed council proceedings. And that the bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, and the corporate seal be attached.
Point of order.
Yep.
It was recommended that we only do first and second reading of the De Bruin.
Subject to the.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah.
The De Bruins have filed the appropriate registered plan. The recommendation on this comes to give the first and second reading pending receipt of the final registered plan, but we do have a registered plan in place, so they are eligible for a 3rd reading tonight.
Okay, great.
Good item. What would you, Councilman McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks? All those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. And if there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn at 8:11 p.m. Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councilman McKinnon, all those in favor? Opposed, and that's carried.